eyes, not only in human beings, but the octopus eye, which seems even better, because it doesn't have the reverse upside down effect. If you've ever seen the image, the eye looks at something and then our brain sees it upside down. I don't know how they figure that out. But in any case, theoretically, what we're seeing is the reverse or upside down image of what our eye is seeing because of the way the eye kind of functions. But an octopus doesn't have that kind of arrangement and literally sees it direct on, if that makes sense. You can look that up if you're interested in it. My wife is currently reading a book called Many Things Under a Rock. And that was the book I bought for her wedding anniversary. We're celebrating our 51st anniversary on the 7th of October. And what did she like? She wanted a new book, so I got her that. And it's actually written by an APU professor, if you're familiar with APU at all, which is pretty cool. But so, theoretically, evolution does seem to explain how we've developed an eye. But that doesn't take away the issue of intelligent design. Because how did these incredibly, apparently functioning things happen? And we know today also from studying evolution, and by the way, evolutionary theory has evolved, right? And by the way, the best book on that, if you're curious, in my opinion, at least, is the maybe if I go by here we go. The Structure of Evolutionary Theory. It's a small book, about 1,200 pages. Probably cheap though, because nobody buys it. Don't know why. In any case, evolutionary theory has changed. So I love, those arguments about, individuals thinking religion is against evolution. What religion are they talking about? Because that's certainly not the case. Evolution has been accepted by the church since 18 something at some point. I know it's slow, but nonetheless it's been accepted as, it probably is. How the church does. But in any case, there are so many different theories of evolution. Which ones are you talking about? It's almost like saying you're an atheist. Which ones don't you believe in? Zeus. That's funny way of looking at it. But let's look at the different actual arguments. The first and more manifest way. This is Aquinas again. Can you see it? Is it big enough, friend, for you to see it in the back? Yes? So the first and most obvious way or manifest way is from motion. And I use that as my X, Y, Z kind of thing. If this moves, that, etc. But now whatever is in motion is put in motion by another. For nothing can be in motion except it is in potentiality. That's Aristotle's term, right? To that towards which it is in motion, whereas a thing moves in as much as it is in actuality, right? For motion is nothing else than the reduction of something from potentiality to actuality. That's just pure Aristotle. But nothing can be reduced from potentiality to actuality except by something in a state of actuality. Thus, that which is actually hot, as fire, makes wood, which is potentially hot, to be actually hot, and thereby moves and changes it. Now, it is not possible that the same thing should be at once in actuality and potentiality in the same respect, but only in different respects for what is act, etc., etc. And here's the point. But this cannot go on to infinity, because then there would be no first mover and consequently no other mover, seeing that subsequent movers move only inasmuch as they are put in motion by the first mover, as the staff moves only because it is put in motion by the hand. Therefore, it is necessary to arrive at a first mover put in motion by no other. And this everyone understands to be God. So God is the first mover or prime mover. Question for you. How many of you woke up this morning? What moved you to get up?
I didn't want to miss my extra credit opportunity.
I mean, something moved you to get up, but was it a physical mover? Or was it your own spirit deciding, I'm getting up? A dog? I have that issue myself. 2 dogs, in fact.
What are the dogs?
Well, I have a saint, of course, Saint Bernard. We named Denali, and she's our 4th one. The other, they don't live that long. That's the sad thing about big dogs. And the other dog is a mutt, and so 15 different genetic things involved in this one dog. So you really can't tell. She was the result of a copulatory event that happened in Wasilla between a dog that the owners knew about and a dog that the owners didn't know about.
Yeah.
So it was an unplanned event. In any case, they actually do the DNA and they give you a feedback, and you can see this is a super mutt, and here's this dog, this dog, this dog, this dog. The nice thing about that is they're cheaper. The bad thing about that is you have no clue what kind of temperament they're going to have. Whereas the Saint Bernard, it comes with, a algorithm. This is the Saint Bernard algorithm, and sure enough, it acts just like all the other ones that we had. And in fact, all the neighbors keep calling it Lady, because Lady was the one that we had previously. And so we have to remind them, this one's Denali. This baby's asset. Very sad. Cancer usually gets them. Cancer of the bone. However, so I wonder about this as an issue that kind of ruins this, because if we wake ourselves up and you don't have, a dog or some other physical explanation, it seems like your own spirit has moved you as opposed to a physical cause. Does that make sense as an issue? I mean, this is me thinking. I do that occasionally, Right, Doug?
Yeah.
It happens. It happens.
Not often. I mean, sometimes.
It'll get worse. It'll get worse. So that's an interesting argument. The second way is from the nature of the efficient cause. Remember, for Aristotle, the efficient cause was, what changed something. The carpenter, trimming the wood to make a piece of furniture or something, right? But it follows in exactly the same approach, that this leads back and back and back and back, but there must have been a first efficient cause, and everyone knows that that is God. All men speak of as God, right? Actually, this would be necessity, and that's the third one. And then the fourth way is the gradation to be found in things. Some are good, noble, and the like, but more and less are predicated of different things according as they resemble in their different ways something which is the maximum, as a thing is said to be hotter, etc., etc. And when you get right down to it, there's something that has to be the goodest thing, and that everyone calls God. So those are the cosmological. If we look around, and I think the neat thing about these is that when we were discussing the ontological argument, it seems like, okay, it's really ridiculous to argue against it, and yet at the same time, if the point of arguing that God exists is to like persuade someone, that doesn't really seem to help. And if you're trying to persuade someone to believe in God, what kind of God are you trying to persuade them to believe? And the thing is, that argument doesn't do it. It doesn't give you any other characteristics. So in that sense, it's worthless, right? Yes? Worthless, seems like. It's a fun logical puzzle. Annoys the heck out of people when they first hear it, hopefully. Yes, it annoyed you tremendously. And maybe you went home and argued with people about it. That's the funnest part of this course, because it helps people spread, philosophy through the community. But then, with the cosmological arguments, it's giving you these other characteristics, such as God being goodness, or the first mover, etc. So you're getting characteristics, the necessary being, right? So you're getting these characteristics out of it that add to the concept of God that you don't get through the ontological argument. And then the fifth way is from the governance of the world. We see that things which lack intelligence, such as natural bodies, act for an end. Remember Aristotle, everything has a purpose, right, in the entire universe. And so everything acts for an end, and this is evident from their acting always, or nearly always, in the same way, so as to obtain the best result. Hence it is plain that not fortuitously, that's by chance, but designedly do they achieve their end. Now, whatever lacks intelligence cannot move towards an end unless it be directed by some being endowed with knowledge and intelligence as the arrow is shot to its mark by the archer. Therefore, some intelligent being exists by whom all natural things are directed to their end, and this being we call God. So there's your fifth way. And you've heard that argument probably. If you're walking through the woods and you see a toaster lying there. Anybody read A Walk in the Woods? That was a real fun book. But, his companion brought a toaster on a hike, and of course there's no place to plug in a toaster. And, he was carrying everything in a newspaper delivery boy bag. That's the bag you got, and of course all this stuff started to weigh. He also had an entire tinned ham, and he just flung them away when it was getting too heavy. He just flung it into the woods, the toaster included. And I thought, gosh, if I was walking along and I saw that toaster, I wouldn't think that toaster evolved from nature in that spot. I would think that there was an intelligent designer, probably Korean, that made it. Actually, it was years ago when that book, so probably not Korean. I don't know who was making toasters at the time. Westinghouse. Who knew? But in any case, now where does this stuff get designed? So that's that argument. Let's do a couple other folks. I should have mentioned in Thomas Aquinas' life, it's very interesting, he studied with Albertus Magnus. That was after he became a Dominican. His parents didn't want him to become a Dominican. They wanted him to become a Benedictine, because the Benedictines were wealthier and would have more power. and that would be better for the family. But he wanted to be a Dominican, which was a brand new order of teaching mendicants, monks that wandered around. And in any case, he became a Dominican after quite an interesting display of familial attempts to control him. They locked him in a tower, and by the way, you can go to that tower and see it. It's in an Italian town. It even has on the door, this is the castle where Aquinas' parents locked him up. You can see the tower still there. Some of the no. He didn't lower his golden hair. So that's another story. Right. What's the name of that one?
Rapunzel.
Rapunzel. I was thinking of the